and welcome to the Savvy Ladies Wednesday Wisdom webinar. I'm Maggie Montemuro, and I'm the Marketing Manager at Savvy Ladies. If you have a question during the webinar, please type it into the chat box. If you're joining us by phone, you can email your question to info@savvyladies.org. All questions will be answered, time permitting. Today's presenters are Marva Allen and Patrice Samara, co-founders of Wordy, a disruptive new publishing and social media platform. Marva and Patrice are accomplished entrepreneurs, authors, publishers, and speakers. Marva is the recipient of numerous business awards, including Crane's 40 Under 40 Award. As a national lecturer on entrepreneurship, Marva has experience in multiple disciplines. She has been the go-to person for books for NPR and NBC, and has been featured in the New York Times, NYSE Diversity Magazine, and Time Out, among others, and has appeared on Good Morning America. Marva is the author of 2 acclaimed books, Protégé and Camouflage. Her latest novel, If I Should Die Tonight, will be published in 2017. Patrice is an Emmy Award winner who has been honored with over 50 international awards for creativity and excellence, including 30 Cine Golden Eagles and 2 Parents' Choice Awards. She has over 20 years' experience as a global strategic communications advisor, documentary and event producer, and lifelong entrepreneur with over 25 years' experience working with Fortune 500 companies and nonprofits in over 30 countries. Patrice is the author of 7 multicultural children's books and president of Triumph Communications Group. Thanks for being with us today, Marva and Patrice, and let's get started.
Thank you, Maggie.
So Marva, how are you today?
Fine, Patrice. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. So we are going to be starting our webinar, and Marva will start. And as you know, the title is Entrepreneurship, Turning Passion into Profit.
Correct. So hi, this is Marva Allen. I am, as you heard before, the co-founder of Wordy. And I have been a lifelong entrepreneur since the age of 24. I've sort of been there and done that. And I think maybe I can help you if this is your interest, figure out if this is the route you want to go. Many people think being an entrepreneur is easy, and it can be if you are the type of person who should be an entrepreneur, or it absolutely could be punishment if you are not. So we'll talk about some of the key indicators of whether you should be an entrepreneur or not. But let's start with why people become entrepreneurs. A myriad of reasons. Survival is one of them. A lot of people have come to the table. I met a lady the other day whose husband left. She had 2 children, and she had to figure out how she was going to look after these children. And she had always had a gift actually as a psychic. So she started having a psychic practice and couldn't believe that it had grown so well that it outstripped her income from before. So out of survival, she went back to the stuff that she knew and loved and made a living doing that. Like us at Wordy, we're particularly solving a niche market problem. That's where we play as entrepreneurs. And in almost all of the businesses that I have been involved in, they've all been along the lines of niche market, solving a particular problem that needs some level of disruption. There are companies, as you probably have heard of, people like Uber and Airbnb. In the world of entrepreneurship, they are called unicorns. And these are companies that come to market specifically to grow rapidly. So they come in, they develop a technology, they do, or they develop some level of service to their consumer, and they expect to have rapid growth and go to what we call an initial public offering. So you'll see people like Uber and people like Airbnb within 4 or 5 years, they're billion-dollar companies. Many of them are few and far between, and some of them transition into long-term companies and others do not. If you are under probably 21, you know about things like Snapchat. That was just sold for $1 billion or plus for people to put rabbit noses on or something. So, and I'm not sure Snapchat will be around in 50 years, but that was the intent of the entrepreneur to come to market, rapid growth, rapid wealth. The other one, again, is hope for wealth. I think all entrepreneurs hope for wealth. Many of us get a rude awakening and realize that we hope for longer hours than if we did 9 to 5. But we also get a certain amount of freedom that you couldn't get anywhere else. And wealth really depends on how you define that. So wealth for someone is could be just paying their bills, and wealth for another person could be, living on 6 different continents within a year. So it really depends on what you do. The last thing, of course, is freedom, and I think every entrepreneur I have ever spoken to, this has been the one common thing they all want. They want a freedom to be able to do what they want to do, whether it's to work 80 hours a week or whether it's not to work at all, or to figure out some clever way to make money not working. So I think these are some of the things of why people become an entrepreneur. However, regardless of wherever or whatever or however you become an entrepreneur, it begins with an idea. And and the idea is usually the founder, and the founder will go out and find people who are also interested in that idea, and they'll come together to create something very dynamic and something very kinetic. So depending on what your idea is, you will find your like person, whose sweet spot is where you are as well. So the, the topic of our talk today is turning your passion into profits. And this should be about where every entrepreneur is, I think. If you are working and doing something that you love, it never ever feels like work. It really feels like you're doing just something that you love to do, and you could do it all the time, and you will not quantify it as work. So if you love doing something that much, is there a way for you to make a living doing what you're doing? So we asked. I actually teach graduate school, and I teach a bunch of young entrepreneurs doing their MBAs. And one of the things we ask them, once we have identified if they have a propensity to be an entrepreneur, is really what is your passion, and why do you want to come into the world of entrepreneurship? And you will find out that a lot of people have come to the world of entrepreneurship through passion. And that goes for both Patrice and I as well. But passion isn't actually enough. We need you to quantify your passion. I passionately love to play the piano, but I'm an awful pianist. And the reason that is because I started taking the piano at 28 years old and my neurons didn't connect. And so, although I'm passionate about it, I cannot go and play at Carnegie Hall. So I have to reassess whether that passion is something that I have the ability to translate into revenue. And as far as piano playing is, absolutely not. As far as writing books is, absolutely yes. So I have the skills to write in books. I have the appreciation of music, but I tend to make my living from writing. And what that means is that's what we call the S plus M. If you're looking at the screen, you'll see S plus M equal A. That's the quantifier of your passion. And S means, do you have the skill set? Even though you love it, do you have the skill set and the acumen to be able to do what needs to be done to translate into a passion? And the M is that you have actually had many wins at doing what you do. So you started baking cookies, for PTA, and then all of a sudden people started ordering your cookies because they were so exceptional, and you started having these mini wins that gave you the courage to be able to say, maybe I could accelerate this into a business. So the A equals acceleration. Um, Again, identifying your passion is ask your best friend, ask your best friend, who do you think I am? If I were thinking about this as an idea, what do you think, knowing me as a person that you do? Do you think I have the gravitas to go there? What do you think? So confront yourself, confront your values, seek guidance that's not only from your friends, but people you respect and trust. And not to be minimized is the amount of research you need to do to see whether the market is ready for you. The market is overly saturated, which means that the work you're going to have to do is takes quantum leaps in effort, and whether or not you have what it takes to go the distance that it will take. So, if it's it may take you 10 years. So you have to do the research to find out if that's really what you want to do. One of the beautiful things about research is that we have the internet. And not only do we have the internet, we have a sharing economy where we can experiment with different ideas without costing ourselves all our savings and mortgaging our houses. So that you have heard of all the YouTube stars, of all the Smule stars, of all the people who have taken the technology that's out there and overlaid something very, very, very creative. And from that, they have created their own brands. I mean, one such person that comes to mind is a young lady who started out being a comedian on YouTube. Her name is Issa Rae. And Issa Rae was so funny that she came to the attention of Oprah, and and she had so many followers through the internet that people started looking at her differently. She got a book deal, which did really well, and then she got a call from Oprah, and now she has her own HBO show. And now she also has a wonderful modeling contract because she's actually quite beautiful. And so she has taken this sharing economy and created all kinds of multiple opportunities for herself and made her passion her profession. So we encourage you to do all of those things. A lot of people say to me, but I have no idea, including my young sister who is an attorney and says, I really hate being a lawyer. And so, but I don't know what else I want to do. I have no passion. And I said to her, well, I don't think so. All you need to do is keep a diary of all of the things that you do in your life and start noticing when you smile. What are the things about that makes you happy enough to want to smile about doing it? She loves to travel. So when she travels, she finds herself smiling a lot. So I said, well, okay, put travel down as a smile factor and then start saying, what about travel? So you can get very granular with your passion and try to figure out what it is. If it's not work and it's just your life, you're likely to do it more often, and you're likely to do it well. Um, if you feel as if you're living your dream by doing this, this may very well be your passion. If you're adventurous and want to know something new, travel again could very well be your passion. Uh, you know, your positive energy will also bring you the people in your space that can help you to advance whatever it is that you feel is your passion. You follow through with your dreams with a great level of integrity, and many people find that this is what they do. I have a niece. My case study has a son who is a special needs kid, and she's so passionate about her kid learning that she has traveled on Delta almost 1,000,000 miles to teach her son the ABCs. And as a result of that, so many wonderful opportunities has come that now managing her child's life has become almost a part of her profession because he's now on Chick-fil-A, and he's on TV trading cards and so on. So and it all started from the fact that she was passionate about making sure that her son survived in this world. So again, look at your smile factor. Look at some of the things that you about who you are. You know, I mean, are you really a risk taker? Or do you need that paycheck every 2 weeks or every week or every month? And if you try to be a risk taker, you're going to sit and worry about the fact that you won't be able to pay the bills sometime. Do you have circles of friends and supporters who will take that risk with you? Who will say, I really think you'd be happy doing this. I will invest in your business, and help you to find out if this is really what you want to do. Many of those people are your friends and families. They will give you a few dollars and not expect it back, or they may get quite a big surprise when you succeed very much. Are you goal driven and goal oriented? Most entrepreneurs are. As a writer myself, when I sit down to write, I say, today I am going to do 10 pages, and I will not get up until I have done 10 pages. So you've got to have some level of goal, have those metrics that you want to quantify as critical success factors to what you do. You have to be flexible. Not everything in entrepreneurship comes tied up in a nice little bow. Unfortunately, not. Which also today I might have missed this wonderful interaction with you because I had to go to San Francisco for business, and the plane was canceled, which is out of my control. But I was prepared to go into the airport terminal and do what I am doing now. So you got to be really, really flexible about what you think. Um, you know, how about the age of your children? Work family balance is one of the huge things that you have to figure out. And if you listening to me now, you realize that I like to tell stories. Um, I was in Prague about 6 months ago, and I met a wonderful woman who she was a Montessori graphics teacher, and she decided that she wanted to stay home with her three boys. She just could not make the work and family life balance happen. So she stayed home with her three boys. She was so bored that her best friend said to her, "Why don't you go to Pinterest and pin?" And she started pinning beautiful things on Pinterest because that was her aesthetics. Beautiful thing. Then Pinterest took notice because she became one of the top 50 Pinterest pinners in the world. And now she pins for Gucci and Ralph Lauren and IBM, and Pinterest flies her all over the world to speak on their behalf at all of these technology conferences. So, and she is home a lot of the time with her family. So this is what you have to decide. If you decide, however, that you want to be in a workspace with employees, then you've got to learn to lead and to become a team player, and to understand that your customer is always right, whether you believe it or not. And I know some of us want to fire customers at times, but your customers must be included in your success. And lastly, I think I can say that if you're a global thinker, if you have traveled the world, you'll get lots of ideas. And if you're a global and future thinker, you can expand your business beyond the borders of the U.S. and find something that every person around the world might be interested in. And I think what we've done with our project Wordy qualifies as a global and future thinking project. Um, and so I think this is the last slide that I will talk to you about. The challenges of an entrepreneur are significant. I mean, it's like walking a tightrope all the time, and also be able to sleep so you can get up and walk the tightrope again. And it all begins with two of the most important things: funding your dream, finding the way to fund your dream, no matter how big or how small it is. and choosing the right partner. I mean, for most businesses that start out, entrepreneurial businesses, 90% of them fail within the first 5 years. And within the next 5 years, another 10% of the 10% fail again. And usually it's because of lack of funding or bad partnership choices. So you have to be really careful when you bring in someone that you have synergies, that you have opposite skills, because you really don't want to have the same skill set, and that you can see a way clearly to getting your project off the ground. Such as funding from family, funding from your savings, funding if you need it. You have to identify that because that can bring your business to a halt. Increased competition always. We're seeing that now with Uber and Lyft and Via and all of these other companies, because once you come up with a good idea, its replication is very, very fast. And then being able to scale the business um, when competition increases is also very important, and that always goes back to funding. Um, if you have all your customers leaving, you should take notice. There's something wrong with what you are delivering. And this is why when you start building your product, it should be open ended so that you can include your customers and they can give you all the feedback you need to make your project better. And sort of last but not least, we've talked about family work balance before, so we'll skip that. If you cannot imagine it, as an entrepreneur, it can happen. So the unimaginable is always around the corner waiting, but the creative people who become entrepreneurs usually find a way to solve the problem, because that's what entrepreneurs do. They are problem solvers. They have a panoramic view of the world, and they see how pieces of puzzles fit together more closely than other people can. So I think for me, I will turn this over to my partner Patrice, and she will talk about our project Wordy as a case study of a partnership and of a large scale project that may be of interest to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marva. There was so much great information that you gave everyone. So I'm going to talk about how we harnessed our passion, and that is wordy.com. And you can all take a look at that in your free time at the URL wordy, WORDEE.com. Why did we create Wordy? Well, we noticed that there was a need. We identified a problem that was worth solving. Marva and I are both authors and publishers and entrepreneurs. Daily, we heard from people who wanted to write books, both distinguished authors, people who wanted to write a book, had never written a book before, and those who were sort of in between, had written some things, sometimes academics or business people. They came to us and said, why? How? How do I do this? How do I get started? And we realized that the publishing industry, as we know it today, is really broken. Creativity was being stifled because the system was antiquated. So very much like Uber and Airbnb and some of the other really disruptive platforms, we saw that it was ready for disruption. The publishing industry sort of cried out for something new and different. What we started doing was a lot of research. We spoke to each other. We spoke to others we knew. We went to our mentors. We spoke to a lot of people in the publishing industry, agents, those who work as editors, and those who work in the big houses. The industry needed a fresh, all-inclusive digital solution for people like all of you, and certainly for people like us. So we see Wordy as the future of books. It is a curated site. And what that means is that everyone that approaches us, we look at it from a curation point of view, very much like an art gallery looks at putting paintings on the wall or a museum does. Ours is a social site, so it connects and empowers the world of words in the digital and social age. Authors can create, publish, distribute, and connect with readers through our literary lounges, and they are in control. They can self promote and build worldwide audiences, which is really where everything is today. And that was not happening in the publishing industry. So we combined all that is good with social media and publishing as we know it. So possibly you're thinking about, why did they use three E's in Wordy? Well, as you can see, if you have your PowerPoint up, exchange, entertain, and evolve. And that's what we believe is in the power of words. The next slide here, we have a capture of one of our screenshots. It's really user-friendly, and we hope that you'll all come on and take a look at Wordy. And no matter what your considerations are, we'd love you to publish with us. Please tell your friends. I'd like to go now and go into some facts about entrepreneurs. Generally male dominated, but I clearly want to say there are opportunities knocking for women. The typical age group of an entrepreneur, 25 to 44, but honestly, there is no age limit. There are people who are 12 that are starting ventures, and there are people that are 70 and 80 starting ventures. So age should not be a limit, nor should it hold you back. Women tend to start social ventures, but everything is open to women. Entrepreneurs represent about 25% of all business started, and this is a perfect climate to start a business. One resource I wanted to mention to each of you is that the Small Business Administration, it is sba.gov/starting business, has a site that will give you free information both for young people starting it, young entrepreneurs, millennials starting businesses, and encore entrepreneurship, that would be 50 plus, people who are 50 plus. So that is a free resource. So that is the end of our presentation. We put a short list of female entrepreneurs. Really, they are very varied in age, in ethnicities, in backgrounds, and what they do. We thought we'd just give you a few names to take a look at, and hopefully they will be an inspiration to all of you. And we hope you'll add your name here in 2017. So now we're open for questions. Maggie?
Thanks, Marva and Patrice. That was really great. And I just want to remind everyone that if you have a question now, you can use the chat box or you can email info@savvyladies.org. And I'll start with the first question we have here. It's, I'm not in the position to fund starting my own business. What are some ways to get funding?
Marva, would you like to answer that one?
Certainly. If you're not in a position to start your own business, then you're going to have to be a really, really great salesperson. You're going to have a very convincing argument about why you are interested, because most people who will invest in business will invest because you've invested, and they are investing in you rather than your business, but they also want to know that you have skin in the game. So the first place that I would go is if someone in your family understands that you have this passion and you want to start this business, and they have seen some level of proven success. They've seen the skills, they have seen the many wins, and all that's missing is the money. They may be able to say to you, well, we can fund this for you, and we can fund it either as a gift, or we can fund it as a loan, or we can fund it as having shares in your company. When we started our first company when I was about 24 years old, it was actually a family business, but it was a family business in the space of technology, and grew to be a very, very large business. And not only was it not even my idea, it wasn't. The founder was actually my brother-in-law, who was an ENT physician, and decided that this new thing was happening. He was a very futuristic megatrends kind of guy, and this futuristic thing was happening called technology. And this is in 1982, me, Microsoft, Steve Jobs, and so on. And he then tapped both my sister and I, my sister who was a financial person with Sun Oil Company and Arco, and myself who was a scientist, who have a brain that works in circles. And he says, there's going to be this thing happening. And we had no money. So he financed the entire thing initially, never really believing that it's become a really huge multi-million-dollar business, where, we got our first client, General Motors, after 2 weeks, and it was $1 million sale. So we were just as blown away. We were just like, just walking in the forest, looking at the trees, and then this happened. So, there are all kinds of ways to enter the world. But then again, we had the skill set to be able to deliver some of the things that were needed in that industry, but we were not the funders of the business. So if you have someone who believes in you, that's a great place to start with a good elevator story and showing them some micro wins.
Okay, great. Thank you. And the next question we have is asking if you could please repeat the name of the website for entrepreneurs.
Sure. The website for entrepreneurs is part of the Small Business Administration. It is sba.gov/starting business.
Okay, great. Thank you. And we will send that link out to everyone. So if you didn't have a chance to write it down, no worries. We'll send it out to everyone. And another question we have here is, I'm worried that I'll never really have a work-life balance if I start my own business. Could you give me some tips on that?
I'd be happy to do that. This is Patrice. Having a family, having friends, having something you can do, whether it's your faith-based fun that you have or things that you do other than work, is always a challenge. Whether you're an entrepreneur or you have a regular job, finding that balance comes from within. What's very important when you are an entrepreneur is to do a lot of planning. We have a lot of lists, a lot of to-do lists, and we also delegate. So finding that balance is a personal thing, and reaching out to others who have done the same thing, have become entrepreneurs, is another way to help you find that. Really ask people for advice and always feel that there are others who want to help you, because this is a country that wants people to succeed, and we're able to because we are part of this country. There's a huge entrepreneurial spirit in America for building, growing, and having people succeed.
I would like to add something to that as well, because um, one of the reasons that I actually went into becoming an entrepreneur was because you know how your life is always planned out and you're going to be this and be that, and nothing ever goes linear. Everything changes and you have to change with it. So, my original goal was to become a physician, and I was on my way very well to doing that when I got pregnant and had a premature son. And that changed everything about the way I looked at the world. And actually, my life work balance was actually promoted by being an entrepreneur, because I could take my son to work. And he often says, Mom, I think I grew up under your desk. And I said, Yes, you did. And then you grew taller than the desk. But the point being that it gives you a certain amount of freedom. When we then translated our company into a big company, our CFO would bring her son to work. Because we all understood that. So sometimes, when you're an entrepreneur, um, you have more freedom to be able to say what you want to do. So if you don't want to work between the hours of 6 and 9 because you're taking your kids to school, or and then again from 3 until bedtime because the kids are home, you can do that. When you have a job and you've got to be there 9 to 5, and get the babysitter, and so on. And if you miss a day, they don't care about what's happening in your world at home, no matter how serious. That's far more stressful for me personally than if I had create being a, if I than being an entrepreneur with a schedule that I can fix and I can manage. So like the woman I told you from Pinterest, she doesn't have to. She's working for IBM and Gucci and Ralph Lauren, but she's doing it from her home. She has to go nowhere. She delivers her product through the internet. So while her kids are in school, she works. So sometimes being an entrepreneur gives you a better chance at work life balance if you're disciplined enough to know when to stop and to start.
Okay, thank you. And do you have time for one more question?
Yes, we do.
Okay, it's I don't know about the money side of running a business. How do I figure out all the accounting, tax, and finance pieces of it?
Okay. This is Marva. I can tell you how that works. So there's a guy called Bill Gates, correct? Bill Gates is Mr. Microsoft, and there's a guy called Steve Jobs, who was Apple at the time. And those people were technical. They had absolutely zero idea about running a business. They found a partner who had just those strengths. So Steve Jobs found a partner who was technical while he was a big visionary design guy, and then you hire a CFO. And Bill Gates found a guy who was very strong as a CFO and as an operations person. So David Allen was a COO and Bill Gates was a creative being. So you can find that in your partnerships. And in many cases also, you will be hiring or outsourcing a lot of your financial stuff to experts such as a CPA. But I can't stress how important it is for you to know how to read your own balance sheet. So you need to come and take a class on interpreting financial statement, understanding money, even if it's from a high level. You will never have to do it, maybe, but you must understand it because, fish rots from the head down, and there is no excuse saying, I didn't understand it. Of course, there are tons of things, and many of you probably have used something called TurboTax to do your taxes. There's something called QuickBooks, which is so very simple. You put things in, you don't even have to know accounting. You just follow the wizard, and you will start seeing how that works as opposed to something like SAP, which is huge, which run General Motors. But for you, you must get you must get at least an overall and broad understanding. So go to a community college, take a course online, look on YouTube and find out about the basics of finance, and just educate yourself, because whether you outsource this or you have someone in house, you must understand the numbers, because the numbers is what business is all about, and the numbers never lie.
I wanted to add also, this is Patrice, that a lot of community colleges and universities have adult ed courses in entrepreneurship, and that could be a very good way to start. Many courses are given for free, and some of them are very low cost, but it can expose you in an academic setting to the possibilities of what it's like to become an entrepreneur.
All right. Okay, well, I want to thank you, Marva and Patrice, for an excellent presentation. There's a lot of great information in there. And thanks to everyone for joining us today and asking questions. We hope you'll be joining us again. And thanks so much, Marva and Patrice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our pleasure. Thank you very much, Maggie. We appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye now.
Bye.